Okay, so are you ready to dive in? Because today we're tackling Sean Diddy Combs.
This is a big one.
It really is. I mean, everyone knows Diddy, right? The music, the fashion, the larger-than-life persona.
Right, but behind that image, there's a whole other story unfolding, one that's been whispered about for years. But now, those whispers are getting much, much louder.
And that's what we're here to unravel. We're talking serious accusations, the kind that could completely rewrite his legacy.
And it's not just about Diddy, really, is it? It's about power, it's about fame, and it's about how those things intersect with accountability, or lack thereof, in the music industry.
We're talking about some heavy stuff today, and we've gone deep for this one, guys. Court documents from 9 different lawsuits, countless news articles, interviews. We even dug into social media, and it paints a picture that's, well, it's both fascinating and really unsettling.
One of the things that struck me going through all of this was how this pattern of alleged behavior, it's not new. It's been there throughout Diddy's entire career, almost like a shadow lurking beneath that carefully crafted image.
It's like, for decades, Diddy's name has been synonymous with success. But now, those whispers about a darker side, they're impossible to ignore.
Yeah, and it's important to remember this isn't just a recent thing. This goes back way further. To really understand it, we need to rewind, go back to 1991. Diddy's a rising star, right? He throws this charity basketball game at City College in New York.
And it ends in tragedy.
9 people died that night. 9.
Overcrowding, inadequate security, it all culminated in this horrific stampede.
And the mayor's report, it placed a significant amount of blame on Diddy himself. They pointed to his lack of involvement in safety measures, even though he was the organizer of the entire event.
9 deaths. You'd think something like that would leave a mark, and what's eerie is how you see this theme, this alleged disregard for consequences, this negligence, it pops up again and again throughout Diddy's story.
It's like a ghost that keeps reappearing. And it takes on, well, it takes on even darker tones as we move through these sources. We see this pattern of alleged violence, intimidation, often aimed at anyone Diddy perceived as having crossed him, challenged his image, or somehow diminished his brand.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1999, fresh off the heels of that controversial Hate Me Now video with Nas. You remember the one with the crucifixion imagery Diddy actually wanted cut?
Right.
But according to Nas's manager, Steve Stout, it was too late to make the change.
Things are already in motion.
Exactly. So Diddy's furious, right? I mean, put yourself in Stout's shoes for a second. You're in a meeting, and the next thing you know, Diddy bursts in with an entourage.
And according to the lawsuit that followed, in a fit of rage, Diddy assaulted Stout, hit him with a champagne bottle, leaving him seriously injured.
A champagne bottle.
It's a brutal image, and it really speaks to this alleged pattern of Diddy using violence as a way to maintain control, to silence dissent. It's a side of him the public rarely sees.
And it doesn't end there. In 2001, a Detroit talk show host, Roger Mills, he has a very interesting encounter with Diddy. They're doing this interview about Biggie Smalls' death, right? And it gets tense. Mills is pressing Diddy on certain questions he does not want to answer.
And so what happens?
Well, when the footage was set to air, despite Diddy's protests, Mills claims he was physically attacked by Diddy's security.
There it is again, allegedly resorting to intimidation and force to control the narrative.
And as if that weren't enough, in 2004, there's another incident, this time with a limo driver. And get this, the driver was hired to protect Mary J. Blige.
You can't make this stuff up.
The driver claims he was assaulted brutally by Diddy's security detail. And for what? For doing his job, essentially.
And the truly unsettling part, in many of these cases, Diddy managed to escape any real lasting consequences. Legal maneuvering, settlements, or...
It's like he was playing by a different set of rules. But things take a very sharp turn, a very dark turn, with Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. This isn't about a single alleged incident. This is about a decade of alleged abuse, manipulation, and even sex trafficking.
Yeah, Cassie's lawsuit, it's incredibly detailed, and frankly, it's incredibly disturbing. She describes these parties, they called them freak-off parties, or FOS, and she claims Diddy forced her into situations that were both degrading and dangerous.
We're talking alleged drug use, we're talking forced sexual encounters, we're talking physical assault, and here's where it gets even more serious. Some of her claims are backed up by evidence. Hard evidence.
Including that chilling CCTV footage from a hotel in 2016. It allegedly shows Diddy violently assaulting Cassie in the hallway. It's hard to watch,
No,
honestly.
it is. And that footage, it seemed to be a turning point. It's like a dam broke. Suddenly, more people started coming forward with their own accusations against Diddy.
People like Joy Dickerson-Neal.
Huh.
She alleges that she was drugged and assaulted by Diddy back in 1991 when she was a student. And what's truly horrifying is she claims he filmed the assault.
And it doesn't stop there. Liza Gardner, in her lawsuit, claims she was raped by both Diddy and Aaron Hall, who, for those who might not know, was signed to Diddy's label when she was just 16 years old.
16. It's sickening.
It's a pattern of alleged behavior that is deeply, deeply troubling. And just when you think it can't get any bigger, we get to Lil Rod's Arsayo lawsuit. Now, this one goes way beyond individual accusations. Lil Rod is alleging that Diddy is at the center of a full-blown criminal enterprise.
This lawsuit, it's sprawling. It includes accusations of drug trafficking, distribution of spiked drinks, even providing underage girls at parties. Lil Rod claims that Diddy coerced him into participating in some of these activities, using his status and power in the industry as leverage.
And the evidence Lil Rod's presenting, well, it's pretty damning. Photos, screenshots, alleged witness testimonies. He even claims to have clothing with bloodstains on it from a shooting that took place at Diddy's studio.
A shooting that was originally reported as a drive-by, with Diddy allegedly forcing those present to lie to the police. It's a lot.
It's a lot to process, and it paints a very, very different picture of the man we thought we knew.
It really makes you question everything, doesn't it? How much of Diddy's success, his empire, was built on exploitation, on manipulation, on alleged criminal activity? It's a question that just lingers.
And it's a question we're going to keep exploring. Because this isn't just about Diddy, is it? This feels bigger, like a reckoning, a moment where the music industry, an industry often shrouded in secrecy and power imbalances, is being forced to confront its demons.
And it forces us, the public, to confront our own complicity. How did we allow this alleged behavior to continue unchecked for so long? What does that say about our culture, our values?
Those are some big, uncomfortable questions. And believe me, we're just getting started. So with all of this coming out now, you might be thinking, how could this have gone unnoticed for so long?
Well, it didn't really go unnoticed, did it?
You're right, there were always whispers.
Whispers were always there, but they were drowned out by the music, right?
With the money, the fame.
It's easy to get swept up in all of that.
For sure.
And we have to remember that many of these allegations were whispered about, they were hinted at, they were even directly mentioned in some cases.
Oh yeah, for years.
But they were dismissed.
Swept under the rug.
Rumors, attempts to exploit Diddy's wealth and status. It was a familiar playbook.
Discredit the accusers, minimize the claims, hope the public moves on.
Exactly. And for a long time, it worked.
It did. But then there are cases like Grace O'Maru's that are hard to ignore. She was a stewardess on Diddy's yacht, and in her lawsuit, she claims she saw a really disturbing pattern.
What's she alleging?
She alleges she saw women frequently passing out after just one drink. Which, if you remember, that aligns with what Lil Rod was saying about spiked drinks being used at these parties.
Right.
It suggests a very deliberate effort to incapacitate these women.
To make them vulnerable.
Exactly. And tragically, Grace herself may have been a victim too.
Oh no. What happened?
She claims that Diddy's own son, Christian, assaulted her on that same yacht.
Oh my gosh.
In her lawsuit, it actually includes a transcript of the alleged assault.
A transcript? How?
Apparently, Lil Rod had recorded it, and the details they're really disturbing. You can hear Grace in the recording repeatedly telling Christian to stop, to get off of her, but he just doesn't listen. It's really chilling.
It is, and it just plays into that pattern of behavior that we've been talking about, doesn't it?
Exactly. The sense of entitlement, of being above the law, disregarding the consent and well-being of others. And it goes beyond just those directly connected to Diddy, too. There are accounts from women like Adria English, she's a former adult film star, and she alleges that Diddy hired her for a party, but then essentially trafficked her to his friends.
You're saying he pressured her into having sex with other people?
Against her will, yes.
Wow.
And she names names in her lawsuit. She specifically names Jacob Arabov, the celebrity jeweler.
Wow. And is this an isolated incident?
No, not at all. Another woman, April Lampros, she describes a really harrowing experience in her own lawsuit. She claims that Diddy forced both her and Kim Porter to take ecstasy.
Hold on, Kim Porter.
Yes.
Diddy's longtime partner, the mother of his children.
Yes, Kim Porter. And according to April Lampros, Diddy then pressured them both into a sexual encounter.
My God.
Which she also claims he filmed. It's hard to even grasp the darkness of these
It
accusations.
really is.
And it makes you wonder, how can someone build this empire, this brand, all built on this image of positivity and empowerment, while allegedly engaging in such horrific acts? It doesn't make sense.
It's the power of image, isn't it? Carefully crafted narratives.
Right.
Diddy's public persona, it was meticulously crafted, and he wielded it masterfully, it seems. But behind that carefully curated image, there was another story unfolding, and it was a much darker story.
A much darker story, and one that we are just starting to uncover. So we've uncovered a lot in this deep dive, haven't we? And with so much coming to light, it leaves you wondering what happens next.
Well, legally speaking, Diddy's in a tough spot. We're talking multiple lawsuits, a potential RICO case, and let's not forget, there's still that ongoing federal investigation. This is far from over.
And it's not just the legal battles, right? There's a whole other court in session here, and that's the court of public opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where things get really interesting because, like we've been saying, this isn't just about one man's alleged actions, is it? This is about a system that often protects those in power, especially when they have the wealth and the influence that Diddy has.
Right, we've seen it time and time again, haven't we? Powerful figures accused of these really awful things, yet they seem untouchable. Their money, their lawyers, their connections, they all act as this shield.
And for a while, it works. The public moves on, distracted by the next scandal, the next headline. But what we're seeing now with Diddy, it feels different.
You really think so? You think this could be a watershed moment, like a true turning point in how we address these kinds of allegations?
It has the potential to be.
Hmm.
Because it's not just a few isolated voices anymore,
Yeah.
right? The sheer number of accusers, the consistency in their stories, and then you add in the mounting evidence. It's creating this wave that's very hard to ignore.
I can see that, but I'm sure some people listening right now are thinking this is just cancel culture going too far. That Diddy is being unfairly targeted, that he's being presumed guilty without a trial. What would you say to those people?
It's a valid concern, I think. We do need to be cautious about rushing to judgment. Everyone deserves due process, the right to defend themselves against these accusations. But at the same time, we can't let that caution silence victims. We can't let fear of backlash prevent people, especially those who have been marginalized or silenced in the past, from coming forward with their truth.
It's a tough balance to strike, for sure.
It is, and it requires that critical thinking, that ability to hold these multiple truths at the same time. We can recognize that someone can be a talented artist, a successful entrepreneur, but also capable of doing terrible things.
Exactly. It's about nuance and about recognizing that people, they're complex, they're capable of both good and bad.
And it always comes back to accountability. If these allegations are true, then there has to be justice for the victims. Not just legal justice, but also a sense that they've been heard, that they're believed, and that they are supported.
A lot of people are looking at the music industry now and wondering, can it really change? Or is this just a temporary blip on the radar? What do you think?
The music industry, like any industry, it has a choice to make right now. It can stick with the status quo, protect its own, and just hope this all blows over. Or they could use this as a real opportunity, a chance for meaningful change.
What would that change look like, though? I mean, where do we even begin?
Well, it starts with accountability, with transparency. It's about creating a culture where victims feel safe coming forward, where they know their voices will be heard, where they will be amplified, not silenced.
And a culture where those who abuse their power, they're actually held accountable for their actions, no matter who they are, how much money they have, how much influence they wield.
Exactly. Dismantle the power structures that allow abuse to flourish in the first place. It's about fostering an environment of respect, equality, and safety for everyone, not just the ones at the top.
As we wrap up this deep dive, it really makes you think, doesn't it? The music industry, just like any industry, it's made up of people. And we all have a choice to make. We can choose to perpetuate a culture of silence and complicity, or we can choose to listen, to believe, and to demand better. It all starts with each of us.
And on that note, that feels like a good place to leave it for today. If you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this episode, please know that you're not alone, and there are resources available to help.
We'll be sure to include some of those resources in our show notes. And as always, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on everything we discussed today? Head over to our socials and join the conversation.
And until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.